So I had a lot of people asking me about tutorials on Set It All Free, a request from an 8-year-old that everybody seems to like. So I'm going to start this off real easy like if I wanted to learn it. Here are the chords, you can pause it here, and you can look at all these all you want, and I'm going to explain them right after this. And I will even show you how I did the cool little finger picking pattern at the same time. So here it is. If you're curious how to read tablature, I can explain that in a little bit more detail too. And if you're curious about how to read these bar charts, I will explain that just a little bit too. But here's the easy part. You can look at this, and then let's go into how you actually play. Alright, muchachos, you were asking about the tutorial. Here we go. So the 5 chords, I think, and now I forget. I didn't count them out. Are gonna be G, B7, E minor, D, and C. But we're gonna do it like this and add that G in there because it sounds really cool. And then we're gonna do what I also did was the bar chord versions of these, which is G, B7, E minor, D, and C. And I actually do add the G because it's still there right there. I was thinking I didn't, but I did. So the whole kind of thing goes a little bit like this. I'll speed it up. And then there's a part that goes when they get it real quiet and you do those cool little things. You just do half of the whole thing that we do, which is the E minor, the D, and the C. Now, I could play you could just watch me play the whole song in the other videos, so I'll give you a little rundown on how I did those cool little finger picking things. What I typically do is that I brush down with my thumb, and I'm gonna pluck the last 2 strings with my first and my second finger because it sounds really cool. So I'm gonna pluck my bass note, and if you're curious of what your bass note's gonna be, it's always gonna be the highest string, or responding to, if it's an E, it'll be your E string. If it's an A, it's an A string. And if it's a D, hey, guess what string it is? It's the D. And if you don't know what strings those are, I guess I could help you out on those too, but we'll assume that you know that already. So we're going to start with plucking a bass note to give us kind of a bass player effect, and then we're going to brush down the rest of them, and then we're going to pluck the last 2 with our fingers. And you always get this cool sound. And in between that, because you can keep your hand positioned so nicely, you can tap in the meantime. So you're kind of your own band. Really cool, huh? Yeah. When you go to B7, you'll notice it's the lowest note you play because we don't play E on that one. Just because we want to hear the B as the lowest note. E minor, D, and the D is our bass note. And then for this one, since we're adding the G in there, guess what? The G is the lowest note. And if you're curious about what that little slash is, that's accenting that the chord already has a G in it, because if you look at your C chord, there's an open G. And we're going to play a G up here, so that means that the slash is going to give us the bass note that we want. So that way we always play the bass line to our chords. Cool, right? So quickly, I'll play the chord progression. Now on the returns and in between that sort of thing, when I'm not brushing down, I just kind of pluck any string I want. The cool thing about arpeggios is that you're already fingering the chord, so you could really play anything you want down here. And those nice sweeping arpeggios that we do is just going up and going down. Now how particular you get with that sort of thing, well, it's up to you. It doesn't really matter, does it? Now on the bar chords, it's the same exact thing, except we have a little bit more control on how we can start and stop those chords. And how I stop those chords, I just lift up just a little bit. You don't have to take your hands off, you can just Alright, and then the last part I'll go real basic with it, and I'll explain to you how to read that chord chart that I posted in the beginning. Right on. Now of course, because this is my most viewed video, I'm going to do the entire thing in my bathroom, because that's kind of the joke, I guess. It's not really funny though. It's just the best acoustics in my house. Everybody knows that. So we're going to talk about how to read this thing. So if you've never read tablature before, you notice that we have 6 lines. You got 6 strings on your guitar, you can piece it together. If you don't know the names of your strings, look at that. I've written them down. This is your lowest string. This is your highest string. Eat at Denny's, good burgers every day. Very nifty to remember that. And then what we have is we're not reading so much about notes, we're reading just frets. 3, 2, 3. Now the easiest way to figure out how to do chords is we're going to use a process called lowest number, lowest string. So if you're looking for, you got, how many fingers? You got 4. You're not really going to use your thumb too much, but we'll get into that. You're going to use your first finger first, and you're going to look for the lowest number. It's 2. A lot of people say A, and A is not a number. Anyways, so you're going to put your first finger on the 2, the 2nd fret of the A string. Nice. And we're going to continue that process with our 2nd finger. Be PG about that. And we're going to look for the lowest number now. Now we've got 2 3s. So which one do we use? We'll use the 2nd process of that, which is the lowest string. So which of these 3s is on a lower string? You can imagine that low means bottom. So this is going to be the 2nd string. So finger 1, finger 2, and then you got finger 3 that's going to go up down here because it's process of elimination. It's the last one you got to go. That's how you read chord charts. Very cool. Let's talk about how to read bar chord things like this. I write these out for people because they're very easy if you don't want to find the note on the guitar and you just want to be lazy. Kind of like watching YouTube tutorials on how to play this song. Anyways, so we're only going to be using 3 shapes in this song. You're going to be using E major, and if you don't know how to play that, you should probably figure that out. You're going to be using E7th, and oh, I wrote this one out for you just in case. You're going to be using A minor. You're going to be using A. So I lied to you, it's 4 shapes. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to be barring a shape, and what you can do is you can play that chord in an open position without using your first finger, and then you can slide it down to whatever fret is listed here. So you'd be playing an E major without your first finger, you'd be playing it with these 3 fingers, and then slide it down to the 3rd fret. Well, technically, you'd slide your first finger down to the 3rd fret, and then you'd be able to play the rest. It's kind of, well, I'll play it for you, and it'll be a little bit interesting, but that's kind of how to read these things if you don't know how to figure out bar chords on your own, which, if you are playing bar chords, I would assume that you know how to figure out what chord you're playing too, but I don't know. So I'll show you how to play those bar chords at the very last. The final process. So I was talking about using shapes. We'll talk about the E major shape, which if you don't know is going to look something like this. Cool. Oh, I forgot to mention that my guitar is tuned in E flat, so maybe you won't sound exactly like me, but it's about time you start training your ear anyways, huh? So what we're going to do to figure out bar chord shapes is we're going to get rid of our first finger because we're going to use that for a bar, and we're going to play this E major shape without our first finger. See, I still got it here. And then, like I said, we're going to slide our first finger down to the 3rd fret, and now we have an E-shaped bar. And if you don't know, that's the G chord, like I've written down over there. So, and then an E7 shape, which I wrote down, which is very easy if you already know the E major, because you just lift this finger up. Cool. And then you play that up at the 7th fret. Here's the A minor shape. Again, play an A minor without your first finger. Slide it up to the 7th fret. Cool. And then an A shape, if you've never learned how to bar an A shape with your 3rd finger, just, I like to use a 2-chord bar because then I could do stuff like, ooh, 10 frets. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyways, that's the last little bit of it. I hope you enjoyed it, and that's just, yeah. So, have fun with it. Okay, bye.